Hello and welcome to episode, I don't know, of the RetroSlot podcast featuring Ducktales for the NES. We got a ton of retro news. We got some dumb questions to ask each other. And we're going to be obviously talking about Ducktales. I'd never played this game, Jay. Have you played this game
Really?
before? Yeah, I've never played it.
How?
I can't believe it. I know. It's like I knew this game. Like I knew what this game was. Is you bounce around on your pogo stick or on your cane like a pogo
Uh-huh.
stick. Like I'd seen so much of it, but as I like when I first booted it up and like I was learning the controls, I was like, I don't think I've ever actually played it.
Wow.
Yeah, I might. I
Imagine.
could have sworn to you I played the 2013 remake, but I mean I didn't know the controls, I didn't know the levels, I didn't know anything, so I must have just completely missed this one, which is weird because it's a
Yeah, I
popular
mean,
game.
it is, and games like Shovel Knight were very heavily inspired by this game and
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
so
right, yeah. I love Shovel Knight.
yeah. I haven't played through that, so there you go.
I haven't beaten it, but I mean, there's a lot of that game now because they just kept
Yeah,
adding on to that
all
game.
sorts of DLC, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I own multiple copies.
Of course you do. Like on what? Wii U, Switch, like what other
Yeah,
platforms was it on? It
yeah, PS3.
was on 3DS.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How many poor life decisions? I was just telling you. I was just telling you, I refuse to replace my mic stand because I can still fix it. I refuse to spend money on that. But I own like 4 copies of what you would call it, Shovel
Got
Knight.
my squeaking we got my squeaking mic stand.
That sounds awesome.
I was telling Briar it sounds like a little league like fence,
Yeah, like all the
like
kids are
door.
like. Sounds like the upstairs neighbor at my last apartment.
Oh. God, I have a story about something like that happening when I was staying with my dad. I'm not gonna get
Oh
into it.
boy.
Yeah. Being a teen I will say this, being a teenager and being incredibly embarrassed about everything your parents ever did, right? Like at that age, you're always
Yes.
embarrassed about everything.
Yep.
It was it was traumatizing for me to the point where I remember it now, and this is like 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And it wasn't really a big deal, like, I don't know.
No. What you didn't know, and you don't learn until you become a parent of a kid that age, is that they are
Mhm.
taking great delight in embarrassing you.
Yes. Yes. No, my mom made it very obvious that she loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I used to listen to rap and hip hop, and I would do that in her car sometimes, and
Yeah.
she'd start dancing to it at stoplights,
Yeah.
and that's what got me to turn it off because she wasn't like
Oh.
she was like
Yeah.
like really awkwardly
Getting in there.
some Ja Rule, some Master P, and some 3 6 Mafia.
Yeah.
That's enough. That's fine.
I love it. I love your mom. I think I'd hang out with her. We could
She's a lot
dance.
cooler now that
We
I'm an
could
adult.
dance to
Yeah.
Jay's music together.
She's a lot more cool now than when I was a teenager, that's for sure.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was actually spent the day with my mother. I spent the day with my mother today.
I thought you were gonna say I spent the day with your mother
Yeah.
today.
We went kayaking. It was her first time kayaking. I took her out on the
Oh,
kayaks, and she had a wonderful time. I was really
nice.
excited. She was very nervous. It took me quite a while to get her in those kayaks, but I told her I knew she'd love it, but she was nervous, about like, she thought
Sure.
she'd fall in. I fell in the water 3 times, but she didn't fall
You got
in
one
at
of
all.
those kayak bibs that goes around you?
No,
The
no, I
rubber
got
thing?
like recreational kayaks. You don't need any of that
Okay.
stuff. I'm thinking about getting like a touring kayak with that would have a bib and
Do you
stuff.
do the
But
roll thing?
no, no,
No.
no.
Ugh.
All right, so we got some discussion topics.
Yeah, they're great.
I'm gonna go first. All right, Jay, I got a question for you here. Ready? This
Sure.
is a mind bender.
It
There's
is.
there's multiple layers to this question.
I read this and I don't have an answer yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I asked it, and I don't think I have an answer yet. So
I see where we're
the
going
question
here.
is, if you could go back in time and tell yourself to play any game when it was new that you missed, right? It's like for whatever reason. We're taking budgetary concerns. Let's say you go back in time with a copy of that game and with any other assorted things that you needed to play that game. The point of it is not to give yourself like an expensive game or something. It's the point is to give yourself an experience, right? That
Sure.
you could go back and give yourself an experience of this game when it was brand new to your younger self. What game would you do? What game would you choose?
I think I have like a genre,
Yeah.
really, because when I was a kid, I really avoided RPGs,
Oh,
for the
okay.
most part. So like, I was young. So young kids, I feel like didn't really appreciate Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy and all that kind of stuff. So I avoided most of that stuff. I stuck to like Punch Out and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Mario and all that stuff.
Yeah, all the good
Like
games.
under 10, right? Under 10.
Yeah.
My reading comprehension wasn't great, and a lot of those games are very heavily text based.
Very, very heavily boring.
But I was thinking about I was like, what are some of the better RPGs that I played later? Because most of the games I felt like I'd answer this question. I was like, but I played those when they were new and I liked them, right? All the games
Yeah.
you enjoy as a kid, you like mostly played when they were new. But I was like, I didn't play Chrono Trigger when it was new, and I didn't play Link to the Past when it was new. I beat Link to the Past. I have not beat Chrono Trigger,
Hmm.
but those are both RPGs, obviously. And I think the first time I ever tried Chrono Trigger was like 2005, 2006. I played it on like a modded PSP, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't have the full appreciation or the time to put into it
Yeah.
the same way you do, like, when we were little kids. So I'd say probably something like Chrono Trigger and really like dive deep into that game.
That's a
But
really good answer. And
thank you.
and to have like what's cool about that is like you then have like that appreciation for that game like your entire life. So like
Mhm.
you could judge future games by that game as opposed to like in retrospect. I feel like the heart of this question is what I'm trying to say is like in retrospect, going back to an old game that was a 10 out of 10 back in the day, it's still hard to go back to, because of the
Mhm.
graphics, because of the context of the game. Sometimes just like the material of the game can be a little outdated, like the
Right.
tone of the game can be a little outdated. I like the RPG side of it that you went with though, because I also did not play a ton of RPGs when I was a kid. I played some, but like they really had to grab me. And I think I'm gonna follow you. I might go to Fantasy Star because I like that game so much when we
Mhm.
went back to it
Yeah.
for this show. If I had had a chance to play that when I was a kid, like I would have had like you said, way more time to devote to it because when you're a kid, it's like it seems like you have unlimited time at your disposal.
Yes.
Like
Way more
looking back,
time than like financial resources, that's for sure.
yes, right. It's like the what's that Venn diagram? Like as you get older, like
The
you
time and money
yeah,
aspect, like
like, then you move farther away from time and more into money, hopefully,
Yeah.
but you never have enough time to enjoy any of the money. Yeah, so I think I'd say Phantasy Star. That was partially, I think, inspired by your answer of a RPG, but also because I enjoyed it so much for the show, it'd be nice to, because I did play Phantasy Star 2 on the Genesis, but it's a very different game.
Yeah,
And to have had that Master System experience, because I've only played Master System games like lately, it would have been nice to have that Master System experience too.
for sure. I didn't have a ton of Sega experience as a kid because we didn't own one.
Right.
So pretty much only the only Sega experience I had as a kid was a friend of ours, right? So I played like Sonic and Echo the Dolphin, James
Yeah.
Pond, actually stuff like that, which I enjoyed. Um, I was gonna ask, you're a little bit older than me, spoiler alert,
How
but
dare you?
I don't know how much of like Atari and Coleco and stuff of that era did you play when it was around?
So I vaguely remember playing it, like, but I was too young to like have like really remember it. I remember my
Sure.
uncle had it, and like he had it in his basement. He had like a game room with like a pool table, and he did like model planes and stuff
So he
like
was
that.
really cool. Yeah.
No,
No? Okay.
no.
All right. Never
Turned
mind.
out not so much. Uh,
Got it.
but he did have an Atari, and I went down there to play it. And I remember he had a copy of Empire Strikes Back. The only thing I can remember about the game, I should actually look this up and see and check this game out. Was it was like 2D scroller, like where you're flying the snow speeder, and you're trying to, I don't know if you're trying to shoot the AT-ATs or what. I can't really remember. I I remember the graphics being like very pink, and like I
Just like Star
very
Wars,
few
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
very few recollections. I remember my cousin had one, and I remember the controller, like that joystick controller with the
Mhm,
one big red button, just being awful. Like
mhm.
even as a kid, I could recognize this controller sucks.
But was that after you played Nintendo and stuff?
It's just so early that it's like those memories
You
are
don't
not like
remember?
clear enough that I can like it's like you get these little like snapshots, but you don't get like the context or
Sure,
anything like that. But yeah, I never owned one. I never I never really became attached to it. It was like really just something that people would put me in front of to shut me up, but it didn't even hold my attention that long because the games weren't
sure,
that compelling to me. It
sure.
wasn't really till the NES came along that I was like, "Oh, wow,
Right.
this is something
Well,
special."
I was wondering with that question if you had more of a linear path of like, yeah, I did all those early systems, Coleco, Odyssey,
Yeah.
Vectrex, Atari, all that stuff, and then like going into Nintendo, like how much more of an appreciation would you have for 8-bit games and all that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Nintendo was like my first system that I owned, and it was mind-blowing. Like
Mhm.
it was insane. Um I remember the first time I booted up Super Mario Brothers and just being like looking at the graphics, being like, I've never seen anything like this. Not even at the arcade, right? It's like even at the arcade, I was still playing like Space Invaders and stuff. So to have like a scrolling game like that, like with just continuous scrolling and like just so much gameplay opportunity, it was really impressive. And then Zelda blew my mind. Like that was the first time I'd seen anything even approaching like that level of depth.
That was too that was one of those things like it was too complex for me at my age.
Yeah,
That was probably like, when did it come out in 87? I
yeah,
was 2.
yeah,
So, like, even when my brother was playing it and I was like 4 or 5, I wasn't old enough to understand it.
yeah. Yeah, it was tough. It was a I mean, it was also like a completely new type of game at the time. I
Right.
guess there were like forebears like Adventure on Atari, but Adventure was like so basic that like you're almost like just like imagining what's going on more than you're looking at like
Right.
graphical representations.
Little blocks of, yeah.
Yeah.
So my question, that was a great question. Hard to answer. My question is also difficult to answer, but
Yeah,
not
but
quite
in
as
a worse
complicated.
way. This is the Sophie's choice of
Yeah,
questions.
I like either or questions, and usually the preface of this is you have to choose one and you can't have the either for the rest of your life.
I can't have the either
So,
for the rest of my
mhm,
life.
that's
This
like,
this isn't even just like which one you
you have to
prefer.
take it seriously, Briar.
I
Like if
I
you
was
had to
taking it
pick one.
seriously. I called you a motherfucker before the show.
Uh, the question that is so spicy that resorted to name calling is burger or tacos, and it can be any burger versus any tacos, like your favorite of either.
Dude, this is mean. This is mean spirited. I love burgers, man. I really enjoy a nice juicy burger with like lettuce and tomato, maybe like a little onion on it. I like a little mayo, light mayo. Don't go crazy with the fucking mayo, bro. Back off, just a little,
Listen, Jack in the Box.
a little, yeah, just a little. Maybe a little mustard, maybe a little ketchup. I don't know. I don't want the whole thing too wet, but I like a little flavor on there. Cheese, I don't know. Sometimes I want some cheese, sometimes I don't want some cheese, but I like fucking tacos too, bro. Tacos are delicious, and like what's fun about tacos is like I enjoy like a great, like really delicious, like well-made taco, like something that's really authentic from Mexico. But I also like shitty, cheap tacos from like Taco Bell. Like I love them
Mhm,
all.
mhm.
I don't know,
What's
man.
your
It's
choice,
hard.
Briar?
It's a hard question.
What's your choice?
I think I'm gonna go. I don't know, man. It's too hard. Take me and leave the burgers and the tacos alone.
Take me. Wow. Is that an offer or a threat? Uh, do you prefer like flour tortillas or corn tortillas?
Um, are corn tortillas crunchy and flour tortillas soft, or is there
No.
like no? It can be
Usually
either way.
corn tortillas are more dry, and they usually have to, like, put them in oil and stuff, and
Mm.
they're more, like, firm.
I
Flour
prefer
tortillas are usually softer.
I prefer crunchy tacos, so I think that would generally be corn.
Well, yeah, if you have a crunchy taco shell, it's usually corn, I would
Yeah,
think.
yeah, I like the crunch. It's more fun.
It's just such a mess, though.
Don't be such a wimp. You're an adult. Use a napkin.
No, like, look, like the Doritos Locos Tacos or whatever at Taco Bell, it's like,
Yeah,
it's you're eating God, like, thin glass, and you go to bite it, and it just completely shatters into a million pieces. But the best invention that they created at I'm pretty sure Taco Bell created this, I don't know, is
the gordita.
wrapping yeah, anything where you're wrapping that too. You're wrapping the crunchy taco in a soft taco.
Yeah,
You
that
know
is
what I mean?
pretty
So it's
good.
like self-encompassing. You get the crunch, but it's not a huge
I'm
mess.
with you. I'm with you. That is
Uh,
great.
that is prime invention 2020 2023. Yeah.
Yeah,
My answer is burger.
you're going
I just
burger,
like
leaving tacos behind.
having a baconator, man. Just it doesn't even like I don't want
You
lettuce,
do talk about
tomato.
bacon eaters a lot.
Yeah, I don't. Come on, Wendy, sponsor me. Come on. Uh, I don't need lettuce, tomato. I don't need pickles most of the time.
No.
Cheese,
Yeah.
bacon, maybe some onion, like finely chopped or sautéed.
Yeah.
Ketchup, mustard, no mayo, zero mayo, and I don't know, maybe that's it. That's realistically that's all I need.
Yeah.
And even more simple, just burger, cheese, mustard, ketchup on a bun. Like I
I
don't
don't go
need
with the bacon every time. Sometimes I'm in the mood for bacon. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for bacon.
sure.
It can be overpowering to the burger, right? It can it's
It
not
can.
it's never gonna ruin the taste of a burger, but it's gonna hide the taste of like just the hamburger. Sometimes cheese will
Usu
do that too. So sometimes I just
you
want the
need
burger, no cheese.
you need thick patties so that
Yeah, but not
the
like so thick that it feels like you're just chewing on ground beef.
no, yeah. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like,
There's
to
like a
balance out the
ratio,
salt
right?
of bacon. Like, the problem is with, like, McDonald's and Burger King bacon, first of all, it's terrible, it's too thin. Secondly, their
Also, it's just
patties
terrible.
are t yeah, secondly, typically, their patties are way too thin unless you get Quarter Pounders, which are the only viable burger option
You
at
don't like the
McDonald's, in my
Whopper?
opinion.
Not a Whopper boy?
No, no, because it's
No.
mayonnaise, it's, like, all mayonnaise, it's just,
You can get it your way. They'll make it your way. Just say
Alright,
no
that's
mayo,
Burger
or
King.
just say, "Hey man, slow down on the mayo. Just give me like a quarter of the normal amount of mayo."
And no extra piece of bread.
Then you get it fresh too. If you make
Actually, you know what?
small
I
adjustments, you say,
I have
"Hey,
heard
less mayo on mine," and like whatever. You get a fresh burger. You don't get one that's been sitting in a heat lamp for 20 minutes.
yeah, and I have heard at McDonald's you can do a Big Mac with Quarter Pounders, which is superior because Quarter Pounders are the only fresh meat they have at McDonald's, first of all.
I did not
Uh,
know that.
but at that point, I would want no bread, no mayo, and at that point, it's a double Quarter Pounder with cheese. Like, it's
Wait,
the
no
same for
bread?
me. The middle bread,
Oh,
they
okay.
put that extra, like, slice there's 3 slices of bread on a Big Mac.
Yeah, yeah. I don't get the Big Mac too often.
No,
I don't get
it's
McDonald's burgers too often, actually. They don't taste
just
like
the Quarter
ground meat to
Pounder.
me. They taste
Just
like
the
they
Quarter
taste
Pounder.
weird.
You
Maybe I
gotta
didn't
get
know that.
the Quarter Pounder or the double Quarter Pounder is the only way to go, in my
I
opinion.
generally go toward Burger King. I like the Whopper. I specifically like the Whopper Junior because it's like the right amount of burger. Like the Whopper's a little much to me.
Sure.
I'd rather eat 2 Whopper Juniors than 1 Whopper.
Yeah.
It's like it's just too big. It's like sloppy.
It's a
It's like getting
balance
all
thing.
over the place.
I I go on the value
I
menu when I
got
go to Burger
delicate
King.
hands. I can't hold that
The
much burger.
rodeo the rodeo cheeseburger.
What's that?
It's a thin patty with an onion ring and barbecue sauce with cheese.
Where is that from?
Burger King.
That's oh okay. I never heard of it.
It's a rodeo cheeseburger. It's very basic.
I got a question about fast food.
Sure. I'm your
Why
expert.
did they put the menu right by the place where you tell them what you want at the drive-thru? Why
So
don't
you're
they
all
put the
stressed
menu
out.
like
Yeah,
No, why don't they put the menu like a stop ahead so
they
you can
used
like
to.
peruse it while you're waiting,
They used
and then
to.
when you get to the speaker box, you know what you want instead of like, uh, um,
Yeah, there's 5
uh,
people behind you. Hurry up. Let's go.
yeah, what the fuck? This is so easy.
I feel like as a kid, they used to have multiple things, but they don't do it
When
anymore.
I was a kid, they sold like 3 things. They sold burgers, fries, and you could get a milkshake or a
All right.
sundae with
Not
nuts.
everybody was a kid in 1967, Briar. Jesus.
I was talking to my mother one time, and she said, like it was a special night to go to McDonald's. Like it was like the family didn't eat out a lot. They didn't have a lot of money, and
The
then
29
she's
cent
like,
cheeseburger.
at the time the burgers were 5 cents. I'm
To
like,
be
what?
fair though, like all of the McDonald's food back then was made fresh
Yeah,
with
that's true.
like it wasn't overly preservatives and like, mountain of profit per item and all that stuff. No, it was good stuff. It was like quality ingredients and made quick to order and yeah.
Yeah. You ever see the movie The Founder about the
I think
creation of
that's yeah, the
McDonald's?
McDonald's. Yeah,
Yeah,
I have seen it.
it
It
was
was
a pretty
good.
good movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Giving them
also,
more money.
screw you for asking, like, trying to make me Cyberturf burgers and tacos, you monster.
I prefer evil. That's just what I do.
Woke up and chose
How I
violence.
it's how I live my life. Piss people off all day long.
I think I got it. Like, if I really got to answer the question, I think I got a burger too. I just like burgers, man. They're so good. I like tacos too. They're both great. They're both
This was
10 out of 10.
also by the way, Briar, this was a trick question. It was a sexual question, so you answered
Oh, okay.
appropriately. Yeah.
Oh, really? Not sure. I'm not sure what I divulged. I think you muted. You've gone mute. Is that happening a lot lately? What does that? Anyhow, we got some news to talk about this week. It's a lot
I'm back.
about one company, oddly.
Yeah.
We don't often do a podcast like the week after another podcast. So there's a little less news because we did a lot of news last week.
Yeah. I found one thing that was interesting to me.
Yeah.
Put it on the list.
It was interesting. I found this interesting too. I think he cost me $24.99.
Which is funny because it doesn't seem like a form factor for you. Anyways, so 8-bit do or 8-bit do, however you want to say it, they released it. This is released
Yeah.
a micro. They call it a microcontroller, and it is like it can't be more than 2.5 inches long. It's small,
Yeah,
right?
itty bitty.
Actually, I should find out the dimensions, but it's quite small. But the thing that was intriguing to me, it's very portable, right? Something
Yeah.
like this, $25. You can take it on for your Switch. You can take it for whatever on the go. Probably analog pocket probably works for that.
Yeah.
Anything with Bluetooth.
Tablet. Yeah.
And they make a point to mention that you can also program each of the buttons to be any like keyboard press if you hook it up to like a laptop.
That's
So
sick.
it can be like for anybody that has like a tab, they show like a picture of somebody drawing with it and they're using the mouse to like change inputs and stuff.
Yeah.
Which, for somebody like a graphics artist or something that's really relevant, which seems weird. I feel like it was kind of an afterthought, but it's still pretty cool. And I'm sure that people will find some cool stuff to do with it.
Yeah.
But you can, use it in a vertical way, in a horizontal way. And
My
it's
question is, has that functionality been there all along? Like, could we do this with any 8-bit any Bluetooth controller? Like,
I
can
don't
we
know.
have like macros set up on our PC with
It's a
any
good
Bluetooth
question. I have
controller?
no idea. Yeah.
Because that could be really fun to control your PC with a controller. Like, okay, you know, turn on the lights. Like, do you have like lights set up on your connected?
Not yeah, I know what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
no, I don't have smart lights and stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of neat.
I'm just picturing Briar in the background when somebody else is using his PC and he's got the little controller just like ever so slightly below his and he's just like moving it around and then whoever's using the PC is like, "Why is my cursor moving around? I'm not Dad! Why is the mouse going?" He's just like, yeah.
That is exactly my energy. When I realized you control the Apple TV with your phone, I'd go upstairs and start messing with the TV
Oh
when my
no.
kids were watching it. Oh my god,
Uh,
they got so mad at me. So
It's
mad.
It is convenient though when, I'm in the bedroom or the office and my son's yelling at me like, "Dad, the remote's not working. I want it louder," or something. And I just like can do it from my phone from the other room.
Okay, so no, this is not a feature that's available on others because this controller has a D input, a switch mode, and a keyboard mode. So this is specifically
Oh,
emulating a keyboard in one of its modes, which is I think this is the first time I've seen that. I'll look at other 8-bit Do controllers, but 8-bit Do is weird. Like they have like you never really know what you're gonna get with a 8-bit Do controller. You're usually gonna get something that's pretty quality. We'll talk about that later, but you never know what it's gonna connect to and what it's gonna do. Yeah,
yeah. It
I
says
mean,
it's
you do
about
if you read the instructions, then you know.
10 hours of playtime seems a little low for one of these controllers, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm sure it's got a pretty small battery in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is
180.
very small. I could see
Very small.
using one of these, like having it in your backpack when you're traveling, like instead of having something bulky for the Switch or your Steam Deck or something like that.
It looks like it's I have a little cleaning cloth here. It looks like it's about this size,
Yeah, yeah, I
like
would say
because you're
so.
holding it with like small.
Kind of neat. I like it.
It is cool.
It's surprisingly thick, actually.
I hear that a lot. I'm sorry.
Next up, speaking of 8-bit Do, I got a new 8-bit Do controller that I'm going to show the camera right now. You'll notice breasts on this controller. But once you look past that, you'll also see the SNK and Neo Geo logo because this is an officially licensed Neo Geo controller. And the fun
Nice.
thing about it is the D-pad. Can you hear that? Is that coming through?
Yeah, clicky click click click
Yeah,
clicky.
it's a micro switched D-pad. So this is a replica, like a modern day replica, officially licensed by SNK of the Neo Geo CD controller, which is well thought of, well remembered by Neo Geo fans. I don't think it was not a lot of people have had this controller to try it because it was Neo Geo. Nobody could afford that stuff. But it is a really wild controller. It feels almost like an analog stick when you're moving it around,
Mhm.
but it works like a D-pad. So I've been using it for the last couple of days. I'm going to review it on my YouTube channel. It's a little finicky as far as what it'll connect to. So for instance, no problem connected it to the things that are advertised on the box like PC, Android, and the Neo Geo Mini. Uh, weirdly. But like things that I'd expect it to have no problem connecting to that other of my 8-bit Do products connect to, it has not been able to do. Things like my Pocket, my Steam Deck, my Mister had no problem. But the Pocket, this is perfect, right? Little pocket
Right.
controller. But you can get around that. I think this was discovered by Mad Little Pixel YouTube. That you could pair this with 8-bit Do's USB receiver 2.0, and then you get more functionality out of it, including on the Switch, the Pocket, the
Nice.
Steam Deck. Yeah, so you get a lot more functionality. Now the controller is $35, $40 if you want the one with my on it. It's $5 less if you get just a
Briar's
black one.
perky personality. Yeah.
But so it's another $20 if you want that extra receiver that
Dongle.
adds that functionality. Which all of a sudden now we're talking like a $55 controller. Depending on what you're going to use it for, that could be a lot of money for kind of like I'd say somewhat novelty controller. But I'll do a full review on it on the YouTube channel. It's been weird getting used to the micro switch D-pad. I think I like it. It only has 2 shoulder buttons, which limits its functionality. Obviously it'll do Neo Geo games, no problem. It'll do SNES games, no problem. Like anything that takes less than six buttons or less, like you're pretty much going to be okay on. But like things like Street Fighter, it could be an issue. Newer consoles that have a shoulder button, and a trigger could be an issue. But it's pretty fun. I will say, in my defense, I did order the black one. Amazon canceled my order. So the only ones they had left in stock were the ones with King of Fighters 97 characters on it. And I wanted it. I wanted to get it as soon as possible to do a review. So I got the one with the breasts on it.
Of course. Of course.
Of course, right.
Nice.
Oh, this was kind of cool. We talked about R-Type last week
Mm-hmm.
for the Master System. Well, there's a fan-made R-Type Mega Drive version that's coming, and one of the cool things about the Master System version of R-Type is that there was an extra level included in that wasn't in the arcade or any other version, and they've decided to include that version into this Mega Drive kind of remake. It's a fan-made remake, so it's you have to download a ROM or something like that, but it looks pretty neat. It's got nice graphics. I thought that was kind of neat, and it kind of tied into R-Type, which we were talking about last week.
That is cool. I'm trying to figure out what exactly looks different.
Well, it's a 16-bit console, so the graphics are just a lot better.
It doesn't. I mean, does it look that much better to you? I guess there's like
Yeah,
cool
it
backgrounds
definitely
and
looks
stuff.
better. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Next up, another 8-bit Duke story. So this one is for the N64 fans. 8-bit Duke is releasing a mod kit that can repair and upgrade an N64 controller. The first thing that's really amazing about this is that you can replace the analog stick, which is very problematic with N64 controllers because they've
Mm-hmm.
worn out on a lot of them. It's actually getting pretty hard to find one with like a good analog stick, like out in the wild. So you can replace that with a Hall effect analog stick, which is the sensing is done by magnetism, which should last theoretically forever. And then above and beyond that, you can also replace the board inside and make it a Bluetooth controller to have it
Oh wow.
connect to your N64 via Bluetooth. Of course, you've got to put a receiver into your N64's controller port to
And
make
you'd
it
still have
use.
the cable attached, or you're taking that off, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's the point of having a wireless controller is to not have the cable.
Right. I'm just saying, like, I'm picturing. I guess I've never taken an N64 controller apart. If you're replacing the board,
Yeah, so
I
you would take
imagine
off
the
you
cable is attached to the board.
yeah, you take
Yeah.
all that out, and basically you're replacing the guts, but you're keeping the outer shell. You'd keep the buttons, you'd keep the D-pad, you'd keep the triggers, you'd keep the Z button. It functionally look like an N64 controller, but there wouldn't be a cable inside. But you'd take the PCB out, and you'd replace the PCB with this new one by 8-bit Do. This is kind of neat, and it's a different like look from 8-bit Do.
And the thing there, it also has an attachment that goes into where the rumble pack is, and that rumble pack thing has a rechargeable battery built into it.
Yeah, that's neat too.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do all that stuff. You can just buy the Hall effect analog stick and just replace the analog stick on your controller.
Oh yeah, that's $20 just for that, which is
Yeah,
great.
which is great. That's a pretty decent price, I think, for that. And you're buying it. A lot of times, when you buy those, you don't know who you're buying them from. They're coming from who knows where, and
Right.
of varying qualities. So this is great. Like I'm really excited about this. I'm way more interested in just getting the stick than I am about actually making a wireless controller out of it.
Sure.
But I mean, I don't know. Like, this is pretty cool.
It is. The full kit's $39.99.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, like, how many hours of Mario Party can this survive?
I mean, the
'Cause I
Hall
honestly
effect sensor should last for a long time.
even like if, like the intensity of Mario Party. Yeah, man, that's just it was just
Yeah,
controller destroyers.
it was friendship destroyer as well.
Just yeah. Oh, you can buy the 8-bit the dual super buttons separately for $20, like we saw them for the keyboard.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Kind of want some of those
Scroll
too.
down, you can see it's just two big buttons.
Yeah. I want to hook that up to start and stop the stream. Bang! We're live.
You probably just use the same button for that. Yeah,
Yeah, probably. Next story, Atari has revealed the return of the 2600 console. Not a whole lot of details about this yet. They've shown like kind of what the thing looks like. It looks like an Atari 2600. The controller looks like an Atari 2600. It's going to have HDMI out. It's going to accept both 2600 and is it 7800? 7800? Atari 7800?
Yes,
It's gonna it's gonna accept both of those types of cartridges. It's
but
gonna
not the
include
5200, which is weird.
yeah. It's gonna include a 10-in-1 game cartridge that includes adventure, combat, dodge 'em, haunted house, maze craze, missile command, real sports, volleyball, surround, video pinball, and Yar's revenge. So it's only $129.99, and the fact that it plays the old cartridges, I think this is a pretty good value.
It is. I mean, I don't see Analog creating an Atari platform anytime soon. The
Yeah.
thing that's weird about this is, like, I feel like Atari is doing so much recently
Mm.
that I feel like they're just at some point a few years ago, they went into a meeting and they just spitballed a bunch of ideas and they're like, all right, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do like
Well, they're
throwing
under new
darts at a
management,
wall.
right? They're under new
It,
management.
right. This would have been cool over like the VCS or some of the mini consoles and stuff they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that stuff. But I guess those are built-in digital games. But this, I'm trying to think of who wants to buy this. A person who collects Atari games but doesn't have the original hookups anymore.
Well, somebody who wants high quality Atari footage, I think this would be great. Somebody who's got an Atari collection, this would be great, so they can play it on modern TV without having to
Mhm.
like go through like a retro tank or something like that. Um, Hipsters love having stuff like this hanging around.
Sure.
It's got wood paneling and
It
everything.
is it is intriguing to me. I'm probably gonna stay away from it because I don't want to open up the can of worms of trying to actually collect for
Collect
Atari.
Atari games.
Oh man, because those carts are really cool. Don't get me wrong, and they
Yeah,
are tanks, right? They are really, really sturdy carts and stuff. But just,
they're like
I
made
don't
with
know.
asbestos or something. They're very tough.
It's just I have no love. All the respect, and I think this is a really cool idea. I just have no love for Atari games because I did not grow up with them.
Yeah, yeah,
And they're just so rudimentary that it's hard for me to attach myself to them.
yeah. I don't know actually what's inside of this either, and I don't think they've said. So I don't know if this is just a cartridge slot hooked up to a Raspberry Pi or like some kind of like Android type processor. So I don't know what's inside of this. For
I
that price,
imagine that's what it is.
yeah, I would imagine
Yeah.
because for that price, I don't think it's gonna be something like like as high quality emulation as like you'd get with a Mister. Um, but the fact that it does take real cartridges, the fact that it hooks up with an HDMI device, the fact that it looks so good, like it really looks pretty fantastic.
Mhm.
I'm sure that's not real wood. I'm sure it's wood, like stick on plastic stickers. But I don't know. I kind of like it. I'm gonna pick this up for $129.99. Just mess with it a little bit. I think it'd be fun.
Do you have Atari cartridges?
It comes with a 10-in-1 cartridge.
That's true.
How many more
And you
games?
can
How many
also,
more Ataris? Maybe I can find that Star Wars game that I played when I
on
was a
the
kid.
plus side, you can find Atari carts for next to nothing, like a
Yeah,
dollar a piece
yeah, like
kind of
stacks them.
prices.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it'd be fun to actually try and find that Empire Strikes Back game that I played when I was a kid.
Yeah. There was a point in time where when I was deep into my eBay stuff like 10 years ago, I would find lots of like Ataris plus 150 games for like 150 bucks and I'd pick it up. So at some point I had like 300 games and 3 Atari consoles just sitting in the garage. But I've since then like flipped them, but yeah. They are interesting for sure. There's a lot of accessories and stuff that come with them, which would be, I wonder if I don't see any. Where are the controller ports? Are they on the back?
Yeah, they seem to be on the back. Or, I mean, at first I thought, oh, did they make Bluetooth controllers? But no, you can definitely see a wire coming from
Mhm.
the controller. It'd be nice if they had Bluetooth that you could maybe hook up like a D-pad to, because man, those Atari joysticks were terrible.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they had a relationship with a company like Hyperkin for something like this, to be honest. I can't imagine it's more than software emulation.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, Hyperkin would definitely be the company to go to for something like this, wouldn't it? I don't know. I like it. I think it's kind of cool,
It
and
is
the price
cool.
is
It
right.
is cool. Yeah.
Last story of the day: Xenocrisis is now available on the Super Nintendo. They got a cartridge version of it, with a box and everything. Xenocrisis, if you're not familiar with this game, this thing has been released on everything. It's a modern game. It's kind of like a cross between Smash TV and Aliens, where like the theme is kind of like alien-y, but also a little bit like kind of comical, but the gameplay is kind of like Smash TV, where you're running around like a
Yeah.
arena shooting in all directions. This has come out for the Neo Geo, the Genesis. I don't even know everything it's come out for, but now it's available for the Super Nintendo with a cartridge, a physical copy, which I think is pretty neat.
That does look pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a fun game. I've played it. I played it on PC, I believe. It's a fun game. And the Super Nintendo, a better controller than the Genesis, because it's got the diamond shaped buttons, so you can, essentially you can use the face buttons as
Right,
a
as direction
as a second
shooting.
D-pad, which is much more intuitive than with the Genesis. I believe you had to like hold A to like lock your aim in place. It was a little confusing. So yeah, I would say the Super Nintendo is like probably the best controller for this game.
There were other games I remember that had shooting mechanics like that for the SNES controller too, where you're hitting the A button to the right and X button to the left and stuff like that. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I might pick
That's how
this
it's
up.
laid out,
I
right?
think this is neat.
I'm remembering that. Or no, A is to the right, Y is to the left. I'm thinking Xbox controller, but similar.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
Why do they all
I
have to be
switched.
different?
I know.
Why can't they just be the same? Why
I
can't we
know.
standardize the buttons on faces?
Yeah. Somebody get on it. So Ducktales.
Ducktales.
Do, 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 do.
So you found a lot of like kind of info about this. I found a lot of info about this. I was kind of really intrigued about this because I did really like the TV show when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So again, surprising I never played the game. Like perfect. I was the perfect
There was
age,
two of
perfect
them.
opportunity. I know I never
It
played either
sold
one.
1.67 million for NES and 1.43 million for Game Boy, which that's a lot of Game Boy carts.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
that is a ton. It's the best selling Capcom game for the NES. And
Uh the best-selling licensed, I
oh,
think.
okay. Okay, I didn't pick up on that. But it's the 36th 36th best selling NES game all time.
Or is it Capcom's best-selling NES game?
That's what I
Did you
read. But
did you find that?
that's
Okay.
what I found, yeah.
Sure.
36th best selling NES game overall. Better
Sold
than
better than
Mega
Mega
Man.
Man?
Yeah.
Wow.
Mega Man 2. Well, I don't think
Wow.
Mega Man is the best selling Mega Man game on the NES, right? It'd be like
Probably
Mega Man
not.
2
No,
or
no, no,
3.
no. Yeah,
But
definitely 2, I would say. But in this, speaking of Mega Man, this game had part of the team from Mega Man.
yes, KJ
DuckTales did.
Inafune, right?
I believe so. So that was pretty cool. And I imagine they used some of the assets mechanics from Mega Man as well, like level design wise,
Yeah, I would imagine.
because the side-scrolling platformer elements are similar. The rope climbing and the
Yeah.
platforms and stuff like that.
So for anybody unfamiliar with this game, it's based off of the DuckTales TV show. The DuckTales TV show was a Disney show, but Disney licensed it out to Japanese like animators, and it was a 5-day a week TV show that was animated, which is like kind of crazy if you think about it, right? Like it came out every day, 5 days a week for 4 years. I found out there's
100
100
episodes, I think?
episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like if you think about like a 5-day a week animated show, and the animation was high quality, it looked great. And they ended up, it was so successful. It was a big risk. But it was so successful, they ended up doing a ton of more of these, right? It's like they ended up doing Tailspin, Darkwing Duck. I think Gummy Bears was a result of the success of this. So there's like so many of these Disney shows that, kind of followed in the footsteps of what they had done here. But having, like, I didn't realize this. I figured I must be just watching reruns, that it was, a new cartoon every day after school, you know?
Right. It's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. And they had like a Disney block eventually where it was like they had like 3 or 4 very high quality cartoons um after school every day. I want to say it was on, well, it was syndicated, so it probably depends on where you lived, what channel it was on. So this was obviously a video game based off of the show. It was the first one that Capcom developed based on the Disney license that they like, the Disney Capcom
Mhm.
relationship. They had published another one, Mickey Mousecapade in 1988, but that was developed by Hudson Soft. Capcom just published it.
Right.
But then they went on to make a ton of these, right? DuckTales, DuckTales 2, uh, Chippendale Rescue Rangers.
1
Was
and
there
2,
1 and 2? Darkwing
Darkwing
Duck,
Duck,
which we reviewed
Tailspin.
earlier in the show's life.
Little
Tailspin.
Mermaid too, I think is Capcom, as well
Yes,
as,
I believe so.
the Disney Adventure game. Isn't that also Capcom? Maybe that wasn't
Um, I I think
it.
you're reaching the extent of my knowledge on Disney and
Yes, it
Capcom.
is. It
Yeah.
is. That was one of my wife's favorite games actually, because it's basically Disney World or Disneyland, and you go around and you get to ride on the different rides in the game, and you're like, that would be an interesting game for us to cover, to be honest, actually.
That would be interesting to check out. So this game you play Scrooge McDuck, who apparently still has a comic book in production, like for like now going on 40 years, like a continuous comic book.
I
That
had
must
no
be
idea.
a hell of a storyline. But he's like the rich Uncle Duck, and he's taking care of
His nephews.
his nephews, and they go on adventures, right? And in this game, you play Scrooge, and your goal is to collect as much money as you can, and get through the game. I never finished this. Did you finish this one for the
No,
episode?
it's tougher than you would expect.
It is a little tougher than you expected, and the controls are a little different than I would have expected. Like in modern day, so your main interaction with this is you jump, and then you jump with the B button. I'm sorry, you jump with the A button, and then if you hold down and B, you can like kind of extend your cane down and use it kind of as like a pogo stick and like bounce off of enemies or bounce on treasure chests to open them up, that kind of thing. And it's a little bit weird. Like at first, I'm like, I know I can do this. I just don't know the button combination to make this happen because I
Right.
didn't have a manual. I was just playing it off of a completely legitimate cartridge that I paid for.
It's not a super expensive game. I think it's like $15 or something.
Is it? But yeah, I mean, like once you get the controls, like the controls are very tight. It plays very well. The levels are, I think, really inventive. Like you go
Yes.
all around the world. You have full control of which level you start with. You can start with Transylvania or like the Himalayas. You could go to the
And the
moon.
moon. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a bunch of places you can go. I think there is like a preferred routing, but it's not like you're picking up power ups as you go. So really, the routing is up to you. The more money you make, the better ending you get. If you make $10 million throughout the course of the game, you get the best ending. If you make less money than that, you get the regular ending. And then there's a special ending if you finish the game with 0 money, which I thought was kind of fun. But it's kind
Yeah.
of hard to do. You gotta kind of nail it because there's this mechanic that you can refill your life if you spend $3 million. So
Which
apparently
is
the
quite a
way
bit in the game.
what's that?
It's quite a bit in the game.
Yeah,
3,000,000.
3 million
A while
is
to
a
get that
lot.
much.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. Like the good ending is if you get 10 million, right? So
Mhm.
like you kind of gotta like you gotta skip parts of the game to do that. I don't know. It's a cool game.
And the music?
I don't love the music.
What?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I find it a little irritating.
You don't like the do 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 do
Like
do do do
I get what they're going for, and I recognize the theme song from the show, but I don't know. Like it was just a little too
on the nose?
not on the nose. It was a little too like screechy.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
This was also released on Game Boy, which is essentially the same game, just fit into a smaller form factor. They also had DuckTales 2 on both NES and Game Boy. And what are some of the other things here?
Is DuckTales 2 also pretty easy to get a hold of, or is that like Rescue Rangers 2 where it's
No.
hard?
DuckTales 2 and Chippendales Rescue Rangers 2 are both, I believe, north of 150 for a cart.
Okay.
I think actually DuckTales
Luckily,
2
I
might.
already own a copy.
Do you?
Sure.
The reason I own it is because okay, so yeah, DuckTales 2 is north of 200 at this point,
Okay.
for a cart, and the reason that I own this, both I have DuckTales 2 CIB. The reason I have this one is because I played this one more as a kid than the first one.
No kidding.
Yeah. So this one was released in where's the
Didn't
date?
weren't you curious what happened in DuckTales 1?
Well, I mean, I played DuckTales 1, but I played more of DuckTales 2 as a kid. It doesn't have a date on the box. What?
I mean, it probably came out 6 months after the first one
It
based
probably
on
did.
NES
Wow.
development cycles, right? Like, "Oh my god, this one's selling like
Yep.
hotcakes. Quick, make another one."
But
Way
yeah,
Forward released DuckTales Remastered in 2013, which we referenced earlier, featuring recreations of original levels as well as new levels. I think that like purists, people who like really like know the original game on the NES, don't love the Way Forward release because it's, I don't know why. Like I didn't research like what's in the whys about the Way Forward, but it does look really nice because it's all HDified. It came out 2013. It would be like the PS3 era. Boy, we're just almost at the PS4 era though at 2013, right? Um, but it does look really nice, and it's got original levels, so it's probably worth at least taking a look at if you're a fan of the game.
I haven't played that one yet, actually.
I own it.
It's
I
not
know I do. I've played it. I definitely have.
I owned it at one point on the Wii U. I don't think I ever owned it, and then I think I sold it before I ever played it.
Oh, uh, did they make a box copy of that? I thought it was digital only.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
There's a boxed copy for Wii U, PS3, Xbox 360, I think that was
Interesting.
it. Yeah. I wonder if the 360 version works on an Xbox Series X.
Ah, maybe. That'd be fun to find out.
You know. DuckTales 2 came out in '93, by the way, so quite a bit after.
Oh, wow, a long time after. 93, you
Yeah,
said?
'93. That's probably why
So
it's hard to get a hold of. That was after the SNES release.
yeah, that's true with like a lot of those games, right? It's like they
Yeah.
just weren't selling, so they're now very valuable. Also, after the show has stopped being made,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
I'm sure it was still
Chippendales 2
airing
was
though.
dis Chippendale 2 was December of '93, so even later.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of those games that came out like after the SNES was already out definitely seem to be the more expensive ones, huh?
Yeah, definitely.
What did you think about this game? Playing it?
I mean, it's really fun. It is tough, and I think the toughest part about it is there are certain enemies where if you don't time the bouncing correctly, you'll just, like, run right into them. And sometimes the bouncing is a little bit harder to control because you kind of go so high and then there's stuff coming horizontally at you.
Yeah.
But if you do die, you got you can get hit 3 times, but if you fall into a pit, you die and stuff like that. And as soon as you die
Sometimes you
three
can go right
times,
down that pit, no problem. It's like
it's
there's something down there.
um, but if you lose all of your lives, which you start with 3, you can get more, but you go back to the beginning of the game.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. There's no
that's one of the tough
continues.
things.
Yeah,
I can't remember if the second one has a password system or something. I don't think this has a password system at all.
yeah.
There is an easy mode. There's easy, normal, and hard. I was playing it on normal. I got, like, to the final boss on a few levels, but I didn't end up clearing it, and then you die and you go back to the beginning, you're like, "Well, okay."
Yeah.
Like,
You got to learn the levels a little bit too. It's like
there's a lot of different paths and
yeah,
things too, yeah.
yeah. There's like hidden stuff and paths. One of the levels, the Transylvania level, like one of the mini ducks
And yeah,
tells
there's a
you, oh,
hidden
there's like
wall.
hidden walls here, and you got to
Yeah,
find
yeah.
that to like continue on, which isn't that hard to find, honestly.
No, it's not.
Um, I like this game. I think that I still don't really understand why I didn't play it. But as I was playing it, I was getting more in tune with the controls, and I found it very difficult at the start. But as I was like getting used to it, I was like, oh, this is doable. I started off by like just bouncing everywhere, right? It's like
Yeah.
once I figured out how to
First
bounce,
level's that way,
I'm like
yeah.
bing, 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 bing. But I
And
was
then
taking a lot
spikes
of
start up
damage.
and then there's spikes above your head at a certain point,
Yeah.
and
But
so
once you kind of like get the controls down, like I was really enjoying this. This will I just bought that that Disney
Oh, the morning
collection.
collection? Yeah.
Yeah, the Disney Afternoon collection,
The physical one or the digital one?
digital. It was on Steam for like $3 last week.
Mhm.
So I'm definitely gonna come back to this game. I liked it quite a bit. I'm gonna. I don't usually like to get into this cutesy stuff that much either. Like it's not my thing.
It's
But I
it
was having enough fun with
licensed
this game.
licensed games were not always great, and they're still not always great, but these Capcom
Yeah,
licensed games are almost all fantastic. Tailspin, not as much, but, um, Tailspin's the one where you're in the airplane and you can, like, turn like, upside down backwards and do all sorts of stuff, but,
yeah,
um, most of them are really good.
yeah. There's a lot of good Disney games, to be honest with you. Like even on the Genesis, the Illusion series, Castle Illusion.
And the well, no, that was the McDonald's games, never mind. You're right. The Mickey Mousecapade games, those are solid.
Are
The,
there?
Mickey stars in this, that, and the other, those are usually pretty solid too,
Yeah.
so
You know what I just realized? I didn't pick out a game for next week. So let's do pickups, and I'll think of a game for next week.
okay. I have a couple of things.
Okay.
So, I had the box of manual for this, I'd been looking for a decent deal on a cart, and I just got it in the mail, and I had to get the Platinum Choice Edition, unfortunately, because that's the box that I got, but I got Kirby's Dream Land 2 in solid shape for Game Boy. I've had the first one forever, but the second one's pretty hard to find, the
Oh,
completed
okay.
box, so my dog is currently ripping up stuff.
Great.
That's fantastic. I got this for pretty cheap. It's not in great condition, and I need the manual for it, but this game, did you ever play this? The TC Surf Town and Country Surf Design game for NES. Did you ever play this?
No.
Oh my god, it's terrible, but in the best way.
It
You
looks
remember did you
like
ever
what the hell are I even looking at?
it's a bunch of like surfing mini games and like skateboarding and all sorts of like wood, water, and rage is what it says. Did you ever play like Skate or Die?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that in a certain way. Like if you like Skate or Die, you'd probably like this kind of game. Not the best game in the world, but fun to play.
It looks like a bootleg or something, doesn't it? Like
It's very like 80s, 90s style. Look at that. It's got the pink checkered board with the giant peace sign and
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They
Okay.
were they were fun to play. I don't know. I had to enjoy it. I never did well in them because a lot of them are based on high scores and stuff, and you just it's difficult. But I think you'll appreciate this one. Ranger X for the Genesis.
Ooh, I want to play that. I've never played it.
I've never played it either.
Hmm.
And I thought that it was a shmup, but I think it's like a mech shmup.
Yeah, I think it's like a side scroller action game that's kind of like shares like you can ride your ship or you can jump off of it and like I don't know. I've never played it. It looks really interesting though. Maybe that should be our game for next week.
Maybe it's kind of an obscure. I'm pretty sure it gets really good reviews and stuff.
Yeah, it does. People like it. It's a very strange game, but it's supposed to be really fun. Yeah, okay, that's gonna be our game for next week.
Okay, there you go, Ranger X. I had a feeling. I had a feeling you would like
That
this
looks like
one.
a
So
nice copy too.
yeah, it
It
is.
looks very clean.
Yeah, I got both of these from Eastar Land. This one's beat to shit. This one's nice condition.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
never know
wait.
what you're gonna get.
Does that has a ESRB rating on it?
GA
Yeah. So
came
that
out
must have been
in
pretty late for the
93.
Genesis. 93?
93.
Boy, had they already started the ESRB in 93?
Well, it was the Wario Woods for NES. Whenever that game came out was the first one, right?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Or I guess it wasn't the first one. That was the last game released for the NES and the only NES game that has a ESRB rating on it.
Wario Woods was the last game, huh? Oh,
Yep.
wow.
I think it was made in like 94.
No shit.
I think something like that. Yep. So did you get any pickups?
No, I didn't have any this week.
Okay.
I burst my bubble last week. I
Blew your load.
yeah. I got some things coming, but they haven't gotten here yet.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Ranger X.
Ranger X, I'm gonna put it in the
Final
dock.
answer? Awesome.
How often do you have to refer to the doc? Be like, what game did we say we're gonna do?
I usually don't.
You don't forget?
Occasionally. I usually don't, no, because I'm usually trying to find a copy of it if I don't own it, or if
Oh,
I own it,
yes.
I immediately put it on the shelf.
All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap this one up. Thank you all for listening. Jay, thanks for hanging out and asking me awful questions about which of my babies I'd rather kill.
Wow. The burger or the taco, yes. Our children.
They're all equal in my eyes.
Yeah. I just picture you with a plate in front of you. You're all equal in my eyes.
I love you equally.
Ow.
All right. Thank you all. We'll see you next week. Bye. Or we'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.